Hey guys, super excited to be able to share with you part one of a two-part series I did with 5 times snooker world champion Ronnie O'Sullivan. Ronnie is one of the most gifted sports people I've ever worked with him. I worked with him for 2 years as his sports psychologist, and in this interview you'll hear him talk about his relationship to health and fitness. Now, we have My 365ers all over the world who are always working on the fundamentals of being healthy and being well. And in this interview, you hear Ronnie really talk about some of the trials and tribulations that he went through to make himself be the best version that he could be of himself. So I'm sure you'll find it totally inspiring. Take some notes, sit back, and enjoy. My 365 Podcasts with me, Pete Cohen. Excellent. Listen, thank you very much for giving me some of your time to talk to you. I did a podcast a few weeks ago called The Weight Loss Athlete, and it was all about helping people who want to lose weight, helping them, encourage them to think like an athlete, because athletes train 3 or 4 times a week. Athletes work towards something. They want to win, they want to achieve something, and I suppose if you want to lose weight, it's pretty a good way of looking at it. So as far as you're concerned, would you describe yourself as an athlete?
I probably train like an athlete, probably not as fast as I'd like to be, but I definitely approach my training, I approach what I do with an emphasis on trying to run a faster 3 mile or a 10 kilometre time. So I don't just go out and run aimlessly. I try and sort of structure it, whereas I get enough easy days, but with a lot of hard training in between. So as you give yourself, your body, a chance to recover. So as once the more intensive training sessions come in, you're much more fresher and able to then push on a bit more. So
okay, because obviously some people, or a lot of people, know you as a snooker player, but snooker aside, you're very much into physical fitness, right?
Yeah, not always. I've not always been into it, but it was something that when I started working with you, you sort of introduced me to the idea of maybe looking outside of my own sport and saying, well, okay, I know not many snooker players train physically to that level, but if you look at someone like Tiger Woods, and golf is probably the same as snooker, it's not really a physical sport as such, although I know golf is a physical sport because it's all about speed and strength through the ball. I still think Tiger Woods has took his fitness levels to far and beyond what the normal golfer would probably be. So I kind of got into training and realised that okay, being a good snooker player is one thing, but how good could I possibly be if I was really fit as say an athlete or a footballer or a tennis player or a rugby player, being able to run on the treadmill for 45 minutes and not feel like I'm dying, So for you wanted to get fit not only just for snooker, but what about just for your own kind of health and well-being and state of mind? I mean, why exercise? Why run? Well, I had to find a reason. I've always been into fitness. I mean, my dad always, when I was younger, always made me aware of the fact that, by being physically fit would definitely help my snooker. And my experiences were true to that whenever I was doing maybe 3 or 4 runs during a week, maybe possibly only 3 or 4 miles each time, that by the time the weekend come, I'd play in tournaments that I'd normally start at, say, 10 o'clock in the morning, wouldn't finish till 1 or 2 in the morning. I'd had that much more energy. Because you were fit? Because I was fit, because I was thinking clearer, everything was much more clearer. So you found that exercising is giving you energy and also allowed you to think more clearly and be more focused on what you're doing. It's giving you an edge. Definitely gave me that sense of urgency. It took away the lethargic muscles. It took away the can't be bothered, the slouching of the shoulders. I think just in general it just made me much more on my toes, if you like. And whenever I had a dip in tiredness, because there would come a point during the day, the recovery time was a lot quicker. It wouldn't last for so long, maybe 20 minutes. And then I'd be flying again for maybe 2 or 3 hours. Yeah, because it's quite funny, because I think a lot of people, when they think about exercise, they think, well, it's going to be hard work, I'm going to get really tired. Because we associate, some people associate it with expending energy, but I think
the likes of yourself and me and people who like to exercise, we know that maybe we do get tired from it, but our bodies come back stronger. But I've never really had a problem with my weight, and a lot of people that will be listening to this are people that want to lose weight, want to get fit. You have had issues with your weight in the past, right?
Yeah, I had massive issues with my weight, and that's why I'm so conscious of the fact that not to stop, because that was an interesting point. I could always shift a few pounds over three or 4 weeks. Always, people say, "Oh, you look well," because I'd lose one of the chins, if you like.
Yeah.
And I would feel better. But then once I'd got the affirmation from someone that I was looking good, I just kind of thought, "Oh well, I don't need to worry about
I've done
it anymore." And that would be it. Back on the burgers, back on whatever.
Well, so what were your real comfort foods?
I would obviously a lot of. I know it sounds awful, but around snooker clubs, it's not the type of place where you go for a 3-course meal.
Yeah.
A lot of it was pies, chips, beans, shepherd's pies, cheese and tomato sandwiches, ham sandwich, all the usual fried chicken, deep fried this, deep fried that, and that's what I sort of gravitated to, if you like. McDonald's, Kentucky's, instead of having the fry-up in the club, we're just going to have the fry-up down the road, treat ourselves to Kentucky. But I learned that once I started getting into my health and fitness, that I wanted to get away from that stuff, and I'd go down the gym and there'd be like a fruit salad with yogurt, and I think, oh, wow, that looks all right, and then you start educating yourself about food and carbohydrates and protein and sort of stuff that's actually doing good stuff for you rather than not doing good stuff for yourself.
Yeah, because I find it interesting that you've obviously been down that road, but it's a road that you've decided not to go down anymore. So that's something that you've obviously decided to move away from. You don't like that lifestyle anymore.
No, I hate it, but I am aware that that a burger and chips does taste nice once every 2 months.
Yeah,
and it's the type of thing that I give myself a treat, if you like, and if I've won a tournament and it's 11 o'clock at night and I can't get no food, and I'm on a high and I want to indulge myself, I'll go and find the nearest 24-hour McDonald's and I'll buy 2 cheeseburgers and chips, and that is it until the next time I win another tournament and I'm on the road, and so I'll probably eat McDonald's twice a year.
And it's not you don't give yourself a hard time about it if you do it. You wouldn't beat yourself up about it.
I used to.
Yeah.
I mean, when I become quite obsessive about what I eat, what I was putting in my body, I'd keep a food diary, because I was that into it at one stage that I just wanted to be as healthy as I possibly could be, because I knew it'd help my training, I knew it'd help my snooker, and I just thought, well, why not experience what it's like to be healthy, fit and fresh. I can appreciate that from where I come from to where I am now to it's not an accident getting fit and being healthy. It's something you have to work at. It's something you have to educate yourself. Sometimes you have to go and seek people that are leading that lifestyle and surround yourself with them and try and pick up what it is, what makes, because there is a reason for it. But when you've been in snookers all your life, or being around that kind of environment, that culture, if you like, it doesn't lend itself.
Doesn't come easy, does it?
No, it doesn't. It's a thing of you get used to eating that type of stuff, and you get used to that's the way everybody around you lives your life. So you tend to gravitate to that. So I've learned how to cook. I've learned how to what's good for me, what isn't good for me. But also, I do like a little bit of chocolate now and again. I do like a little bit of this and that, but I know that if I'm training, I'm running 30 miles a week and I'm in the gym 2 or 3 days a week, then that's not going to have much effect. If anything, I use it as a catalyst to push myself even harder sometimes. If I've had a couple of Turkish delight bars and a Mars bar ice cream, which I really like, the Mars bar ice cream. I know the next day I'm going out on a 7-8 mile run, so it doesn't matter. But if I wasn't doing a 7-8 mile run, then it would matter. So I still like to indulge myself now and again.
Well, I think that's great, because what it says to me is that you obviously had a problem with your weight, and you've kind of gone to extremes. You've gone from eating totally out of control, eating far more than you need to, not moving very much. You've also gone to another extreme, which is treating your body like an absolute temple, being obsessed about what you're putting in. Can't do this, can't do that. Exercise all the time. You've kind of gone to that extreme as well. And then in time, you've sort of found a way which is in the middle, where, you know, I'm not saying it's easy, but it's much easier to maintain, where it's kind of more like holistic, if you like, where you have a little bit of what you fancy every now and then, but you love to move, you love to rest, you're much better at looking after yourself. Is that... I mean, because it's quite hard to maintain balance. For most people who want to lose weight, especially women, all they know is extremes. It's either, I'm on a diet and I'm not eating anything. I'm eating cabbage soup for 3 weeks. Or I'm not going to do that. I'm fed up with it. I'm going to stuff my face. And there's no middle ground. And it sounds like you found some form of middle ground where it's fairly easy to maintain your health, your fitness, and your weight.
Yeah, well, I had to, because sometimes I'd be going out to restaurants, and if they didn't have grilled fish and it come with a sauce, I'd be having to rearrange their menu to be able to accommodate me. And sometimes I could see the waiters just looking at me like as if to say, "You are a pain in the arse." And I got a bit like, I thought, this ain't right, because I'd eat out 2 or 3 days a week. You know, nice restaurants where they've done grilled fish, jacket potatoes, rice, all that nice stuff. But I would be so obsessive that I'd say, well, it hasn't got this sauce on it, make sure you put that on the side. And they'd be looking at me as if to say, oh, we've got one here. Kind of then getting to the point where I thought, well, fish is healthy, it's grilled, what's a bit of lemon and butter? That's not going to hurt me if it's cooked in a bit of butter. I'd be like, well, what are you cooking it in? Butter, olive oil, this, that? And they'd be like... So I realised that cooking it in butter is not going to kill me. If anything, it's probably...
It's going to help you, actually.
It's going to help you.
Exactly, because a lot of people would think... I've met loads of people who've lost weight, but they've still got a dieting mentality. They're still looking and being obsessive about food, rather than just, I suppose, trusting your senses, knowing what your body needs, knowing what your body wants, and being able to distinguish. I think you'd be surprised at the amount of people that are listening to this will actually really relate to what you're saying. What would you say to anyone that wants to kind of lose weight and get in shape? What words of wisdom would you share with them? Or, is it worth it? Is it, because it does take quite a bit of work and sweat. If you really want to change your shape, it does take quite a lot of effort. But is it worth it? Is it something you'd advise people to do? Yeah,
definitely. I think it's something you have to feel your way along with it, because it's like anything, you have to... you sort of, at first you're going into this and you're like, oh, I can't have this, can't have that, can't have this, and that's okay. But then you've got some of the stuff that you're saying that you can't have, you actually can have, but as long as it's cooked in the right way, as long as it's you're allowed to have a dessert, you can still have the treats that you like, and actually you enjoy them even more, because your taste buds are that much more aware of what you're eating. Whereas when you're constantly eating ice cream, constantly eating chocolate, it just becomes like rubbish, really. When you start eating fresh, nice foods, when you do have a bit of ice cream, when you do have a bit of chocolate, you're like, oh wow, this is 10 times better tasting than it was before when I had it. And so I definitely recommend it's something well worth doing, and I think it's easy as well once you get into it and you're committed to it. Committed to what? To looking after yourself, being slimmer, fitter, healthier? Well, committed to basically going to do your own shopping, to learning how to maybe cook some vegetables, give tastier vegetables, because vegetables can be, quite tasteless really, but if you put a vegetable and fry it in a bit of garlic, or a little bit of ginger garlic, and a bit of oyster sauce and a bit of salt, a little bit of salt, then your vegetables then have taste. If you do a salad, you put olive oil, vinegar, salt, pepper, and you can then bring a salad alive, have that with a bit of grilled fish, little jacket potato, and then people say salad's tasteless, but if you was to try my mum's salad, which is an Italian recipe, which is so simple, and you just mix it up together, it's the most tastiest thing you'll ever have. And it's like, it starts to bring the boring foods exciting. So you would say to people, experiment with food, try things. What about exercise? What advice would you give to people about that? Because a lot of people don't like exercise. I mean, I love it personally. I know you do. What advice would you give to people? Is it worth doing it? Yeah, definitely. I think that's like the icing on the cake as well. I think if you don't exercise but you eat right, you're never going to be obese, and you'll maintain a kind of thing. But if you actually eat right and add a bit of exercise, I just think you get that, like I said before, you think a lot clearer, you have a lot more energy, your clothes fit you better, you feel like you've detoxed. A lot of people go, oh, I'm going on a detox, and I just think, well, I detox every day. When I sweat, I'm detoxing all the rubbish that I've might have put through my body that I didn't know was rubbish for me. But I know that once I do a good 3 or 4 mile run and I'm sweating, I look at my skin, my complexion, I go, well, I've got a good complexion because I'm out in the fresh air, because I'm sweating, my body's recycling whatever it needs and what it doesn't need. Whereas without exercise, I just think sometimes everything just gets stored up in there and it's got nowhere to go. By sweating, it just enables you to... It's like a steam.
I've never thought of it like that. I think that's a really great way of looking at it, is every time you exercise, you're detoxing. But I think, as you also say, it's not just detoxing your body, it's also your mind. I find if I exercise, afterwards, I just feel great for the rest of the day. I find if I don't exercise, often eat more on that day, I feel a little bit sluggish, like my body and my mind wants to move. I'd be really interested for people to give us some feedback as to what they get out of that analogy of detoxing every day through exercise.
Yeah, well, that's the way I see it, really, and I think that's
probably why you do it.
Yeah, I think I do. It's kind of like a cleansing.
Yeah.
I do it more for the cleansing and the detoxifying of my mind and my body, just to know that, it's because it's so easy to not do anything, and like you say, anything that requires a bit of effort is sometimes the things that are good for you.
Yeah, I think a lot of people don't like to do things that require effort because they associate discomfort to doing it. But there's no better feeling personally than the feeling of when something is done, especially when you didn't want to do it. Those times where you didn't want to exercise but you did it and you felt great afterwards, or times where you couldn't be bothered to cook but you cooked and you ate it and it was, no,
I'm definitely a big believer in exercise. It's and actually, because sometimes I can overdo the exercise and I feel tired, I've overdone it, or whatever. And then there's sometimes I think, I'll have a week off or a few days off, or I don't exercise. And then I'm even tireder, and I just think, well, sometimes it's sort of the exercise that gives you that energy. So I sometimes think, what must it be like to be someone that doesn't exercise? They must feel lethargic quite a lot of the time.
Absolutely, yeah. Their body's toxic, they're carrying around more. It's hard. It's hard to do. And that's when those people move, I can imagine they find it hard to do, and that's one of the reasons why they probably don't do it.
And I think exercise, it doesn't have to be something that you have to say, I'm going to do a 50-minute run, or I'm going to do this and that. I think it's something that you just go out your front door, get as far as you want to go, and then once you've got to that point, you think, well, I'm coming back home. But once you've got to that point, you might want to go on a bit further. So I definitely think exercise is something that shouldn't be set in stone. It shouldn't be something that you have to do. It should be something that anybody can do without any effort, which might mean I'm just going to run half a mile. Once you've run half a mile, you've got to run half a mile back. That anybody can do. I mean, anybody in the world can do that. But once you've got that half a mile, you might want to go another half a mile. And then, so it's something that you can see how you feel. It might be just do 10 press-ups, 10 sit-ups, 10 squats in between your run, just to make it interesting, or jog from lamppost to lamppost, and kind of make it interesting.
You should be a personal trainer, because I'll tell you what, it's inspiring to hear you talk about it in such a way, because you just like it so much, and I think people can learn to do that themselves. It's just doing it repetitively till it becomes a habit. But you've also had problems in the past with your ways of thinking. I mean, did you suffer from depression?
I think I did suffer with depression, but I think a lot of that was through depressed because of how I felt about the game of snooker. Depressed because I wasn't performing, not on the match table, but just in practice in general. I never had problem performing on the match table. It was always how my practice was going, and I wouldn't enjoy it, and that would make me depressed. I'd come home and think, I've really not enjoyed practicing today, and I'd come home and it'd be on my mind, and the next day it'd be the same. And in the end, it was continuously like that for so long that I think I just got good at being depressed. I got used to that feeling of being depressed, and hadn't had enough days where I felt upbeat about anything, and I just think that kind of got me like that. And then I found that once I started to exercise, I kind of found that even if I had a bad day at the snooker club, I'd come home, and if I went for a half an hour run, that bad day was now a half decent day, or a good day, if you like. So it was always a good way of changing a negative into a positive, if you like, without doing much.
Well, it's interesting, even just you talking about it, you can see that talking about it almost makes you feel depressed again, to think about what it was like, But obviously you're 3 times world champion. What do you think is is the makeup of someone who succeeds? Is it just about talent, or what? What makes someone successful? What makes someone a winner? There's lots of people who want to win at losing weight and being fitter and healthier. What do you think are the components which made you a winner?
I think obviously there was talent there from the beginning. I don't think that with all that talent, unless I would have put my mind to it and been as disciplined as I was when I was growing up, I probably wouldn't have made it, because I've seen people that had equal the talent that I had, but they kind of never really put the effort in, or the work in, or they didn't have that wanting to go out and travel up and down the country to compete against other players. They were quite comfortable just playing in the local tournaments. And sometimes to be the best and to be whatever, you have to want it.
Yeah.
And if you want it, then you will go to any lengths to play in competitions, to compete against the best. You'll want to pit yourself. You're not afraid of losing. You just, losing. You play to win. You never play to lose. A lot of people go out there and they're afraid. They think, I don't want to get beat. The best thing is to go out there and just play to win, and have that positive way of seeing things. And it's a lot easier, I think, when you're younger to have that kind of attitude, and then when you get a bit older, you've probably been at it a bit long and you took a few knocks along the way, and you might start thinking, well, how do I get better, and start changing. You start getting a bit you can complicate things.
You've got to want it, and you clearly wanted it. What is it that you wanted? You wanted it to be the best that you could be? You wanted to win the trophy? What?
I just wanted to play.
Yeah.
I just wanted to play. I just wanted to
play,
to pop balls. I just wanted to clear the table. I just wanted to be relentless.
Yeah.
It was always about consistency and the relentlessness of it that.
So that's interesting, because you were relentless. That's again something for people who want to lose weight. You've got to be relentless about it. You've got to want it so much that nothing's going to stand in your way.
Yeah. And I only think you can only recognise that relentless pursuit of something once you do something. You could be training down a gym, and probably the best way of explaining it is if you're paired up with someone in a circuit class, and it's like 35-40 minutes of going through the exercise stations. And sometimes you're relentlessly, you're on form, and by halfway through the exercise your partner's slowing down, he's coming up for breath, and you've basically relentlessly just broke him down. Choose that as an example. And sometimes it happens to you, where you're training, you think, this geezer, I can't shrug him off.
Yeah.
And I think that's the same with snooker, is you get that feeling of they might start off good, and but you've stayed with him, and then you kick in a gear, and then they can't go with you, and all of a sudden you've pulled away. Just through that relentless keep 50s, 60s, 70s, 80s, not missing easy balls, and just becoming, for your opponent, it becomes a bit of a, I ain't going to get anywhere with this fella today. You can just see they're too in control of what they're doing and whatever, and you just mentally just break them down. Sometimes you can quickly do it, sometimes you can slowly do it. I prefer sometimes slowly doing it.
Yeah.
It seems to be it's like a boa constrictor sucking the blood out of it.
Yeah.
He's slowly killing him and strangling him. And I think Steve Davis was the best at doing that.
Yeah.
And I think Stephen Hendry was more the other way.
So you're grinding them down.
Yeah, grinding them down to where they just thought, let's just get this over with.
Yeah, I think that's quite good, because often people talk down to themselves, talk them out of things, and it's almost applying that, being relentless about that when you're giving yourself a hard time, almost kind of laughing about it and pushing that away, pushing that voice, breaking down that negative side, because I suppose that's what can really prevent people from achieving things. Is, I suppose, whatever you want to do, it's being relentless about it. It sounds like one of the components that made you successful is that there were large periods of time where you actually just enjoyed what you were doing. It wasn't the result, because winning is only a very small part of what you do, isn't it?
It still isn't about the result. Obviously, it's that's why we, it's nice to win. I always dreamed of winning my first trophy. I always dreamed of beating everyone that was coming. If there was 30 players in an event, I was the winner. There's always something that you dreamed of, but once you start getting into that and you start winning it, you then start saying, well, hold on, the journey, what was the journey? I could have lost in the second round. I come through that, and then I found my game in the quarterfinals, and then I just felt like I couldn't miss a ball, and then I won the tournament, and it wasn't expected, and then you kind of start looking at it, and then you start becoming a bit more, you see that there's just more to snooker than just maybe potting balls. It's sometimes a way of, sometimes just being patient with it, and it's hard sometimes because it's much more fun winning when everything's going well.
Yeah.
But you've got to try and maybe turn it around when things ain't going so well, and try and nick a few results then as well, and that's what I think makes you the complete player.
Yeah.
It's not how good your good game is, it's how good your bad game is.
Yeah.
And I think in the past I always had a good B game, and I think years ago when I was 15, 16, there was never that big gap between playing well and bad. I always felt that I was pretty, it wasn't a big fluctuation. If you had a graph, it was pretty even, if you like. Whereas now I just think that my downfall is that I have there's such a big difference between playing well and bad.
And how do you deal with that?
Yeah, that's what made me depressed, was that I just knew it wasn't right. I knew that it was something that I couldn't seem to put right, and the more I tried, the worse it seemed to go, and in the end I would correct one fault with another fault, and before long I was a load of faults.
Yeah,
and
then getting confused.
Yeah, and then got confused and didn't know what to do. So,
but despite all of that, you still managed to, you still managed to win. You still managed to, because a lot of, again, people losing weight, they have difficult days, and I always admire people that even through something difficult, they still don't give up. They still bounce back, because a lot of people, they lose on the diet and they blow it for some reason, like have a kebab or eat too much, and they think, well, I've blown it. It goes out just goes out the window. Everything they were doing, they'll go back to what they were doing before.
Yeah.
I admire people who something gets difficult, or they do something which is it's no big deal, but they carry on. How have you managed to carry on and still manage to achieve, even though when things haven't been going well?
You just have to find little things that motivate you, really.
Yeah.
It could be seeing your best mate. If you train with your friend, you can possibly see him getting better results than you, and then you can use him as a reason to think, well, he's my new yardstick. Or you can kind of think, well, that fella beat me last time in a race, and without knowing it, I'm going to just up my training just to try and get a little bit closer to him in the next 5 kilometre or 10 kilometre race. Or in snooker, you can see one of your rivals kind of hitting good form and maybe winning one of the bigger tournaments that you'd maybe won the previous year, and that would be a way of maybe re-motivating yourself to think, well, hold on, next year I'm going to have to, that's going to make me much more dedicated next year. It's going to make me much more focused on what I'm doing, and maybe approach what I'm doing in a different way. Change what I was doing last year, because obviously last year wasn't doing things.
So you always prepared to look at things, to make things better, to try and improve them. And just saying before about difficult situations are quite good because you can find something in yourself. And some people probably wouldn't relate to this, but obviously the most important thing for you as a snooker player is your snooker cue. And in a rage last year, you snapped it, right?
Yeah.
So you had to use another cue. Yeah. And what was that like, playing with a cue that isn't yours, or a cue that's not? A
cue that you don't like. If I'd have found a cue that I liked, it'd have been no problem. But I wasn't able to find a cue that I liked, and the only reason why I won that tournament with the
you won the Masters, right?
Yeah,
which is like the second biggest tournament.
Yeah.
You said that was one of your greatest achievements.
Yeah, it was in a sense that it was a cue that I wasn't used to, and I was playing reasonably well at that time, so I was able to adapt to a new cue. Yeah,
that's the word I like, adapt. But you had to adapt. You had to be flexible. And I think this is, again, something imperative for people who want to achieve anything, is you have to be flexible. You have to adapt to the situation, because things don't always work out the way you want them to. Things don't always happen the way you want them to. But you obviously found something in yourself to say, right, I'm still going to overcome this. I'm not going to get beaten by the fact that I haven't got the cue that I want.
No, that's how I viewed it. And I kind of knew I was playing okay.
Yeah.
And if I found a cue that I was reasonably happy with and I could play most of the shots, in a way I thought it won't make that much of a difference. So, I just kind of can't let that be an excuse to not try and win that tournament I was playing in.
Yeah.
And if anything, it got to the point once I got through my first match that I thought, well, okay, I've got 3 days now with this cue. I'll get a little bit more familiar with it. I can learn to know a little bit more about it. So by the time I played my next game and got to the end of the tournament, I was reasonably comfortable with most shots with it, and that's why it was one of my greatest achievements, because
because it was difficult.
It was something out of the norm. It's nothing that you would deliberately do, get a new cue at the start of a tournament, especially the second biggest tournament that we play in. And so for that reason, it became one of my best achievements, because it wasn't the norm. It wasn't something that. It's the last thing you would probably do as a snooker player, to change your cue. So,
but you adapted. So listen, I think in summary, I think you said a couple of things which have really interested me, and I'd really be interested to hear what people think.
Yeah.
One being about exercising and seeing it as a form of detox, that you're detoxing your mind and your body, especially when things are difficult, or you've eaten food that you didn't want to eat. Get out there, detox. And as far as winning is concerned, you're saying that it's really important to want it. You know, think why you want it, what you're going to get out of it. Also, to be relentless about it. And if a difficult situation comes around, then just deal with it. Find something in yourself to move on.
Yeah, you just have to carry on regardless sometimes, of whatever is going on or whatever's around you, and sometimes just treat it as a challenge. It's just a challenge. Everything has to be seen as a challenge.
Well, listen, thank you very much for your time. We really appreciate it. And anyone who's been listening to this, please make a comment. Let us know if you found it useful. Ronnie, I really appreciate your time.
Yeah,
thank you.
I hope you enjoyed this podcast, and if you want more free inspiration to optimize your life so you can achieve your goals in all the different areas of your life, then visit my365.me. That's mi365.me, and sign up to 365 days of free coaching with me, Pete Cohen. Thanks for listening, and have an awesome day.